Manager no-shows at work, so the janitor pretends to be the manager and steals his job. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. The management company that oversees my apartment building has always been total crap. Packages go missing from the mailroom, repairs take forever, staff are unfriendly, not at all worth what we pay in fees. There was only one solid employee and he almost made up for everyone else's incompetence. The janitor, Ruan. He kept everything sparkling clean and even pitched in when other people slacked off, helping with repairs, ID checking in the lobby, and more, just because he took pride in the building. Then the corporate oversight of the management company changed, and the new boss was having all of the properties inspected to do a quality spot check on the individual building managers. Our manager, the winner that he is, decided the best course of action would be to not come in the day of the oversight visit so that it would have to be cancelled. The hope was the checker would just inspect what he could without the manager on site, which wasn't much since he'd already have made the trip out there. My apartment has terrible cell reception and no AC, so I spend a ton of time downstairs in the lobby, which has both. I was able to overhear most of the planning for this visit as a result. Our janitor, Ruan, knew as well, and he was spiffing everything up like new in excitement, fixing a few broken things the repair guys ignored, and even just bringing in fresh-cut flowers to the lobby out of his own pocket. Ruan dressed up in a collared shirt and khakis for the visit. He didn't know the manager was bailing, I just heard it hanging out in the lobby late one night. So when the corporate inspector arrived, Ruan was the only guy he saw. He was dressed up, so the inspector shook his hand and started rattling off the things he wanted shown to him. Ruan knows the building better than anyone else on the staff, so you could tell he was a little overwhelmed at being seen as the point person, but he knew the answers to every one of the inspector's questions. Meanwhile, a few tenants and contractors who frequent the building passed, and all knew Ruan, brought him concerns about their apartments. Those on the staff who knew we were being inspected even made a point to say, "Yep, Ruan's the guy if you've got a problem." So the end of the inspection must have come because they recongregated in the lobby. The inspector told Ruan he wanted to get his full name so he could make a note in his employee file of how well he's run the building so far, and that he'd meet with him later in the week to discuss fixes for the problems he found. Ruan, shocked, is like, "You want to meet with me again?" And the inspector's like, "Sure, I'm looking forward to the long working relationship. I like to meet with each building once a month. Sorry, what's your name again for the file?" Ruan told him, and the inspector goes, "Hold on, I thought someone called Eddie was the manager here." And Ruan explained, clearly embarrassed and scared he'd done something wrong, that he is not the manager. The manager didn't come in today. The inspector then went and spoke with a few people in the building on his own, while Ruan absolutely lost his crap in the lobby, thinking he was going to be fired or get the building censured or something. Eventually, the inspector comes back and he sits Ruan down and tells him he might not be manager in title, but he's manager in action. So if he wants it, he's got the job. The man cried. Ruan's been working as a contractor through a janitorial service, not directly for the building, so no benefits, considered part-time, very little job security or support, and had just gone from that to a cushy office job in the building he loves in the blink of an eye. I was sitting on the couch a few spaces down from them. The lobby has a sitting area with tables and chairs and couches, and I felt compelled to ask before anyone got too excited, "Hey, excuse me, can you do that? Or could someone veto this?" Because I hated to think Ruan would be so excited only to have some sort of bureaucracy or old boys club shoot down his promised opportunity. The inspector turns to me and informs me he's the new COO of the management company, and the final hiring decisions are at his sole discretion. He then asks who I was, and I basically said I was just leaving, and I effed off out of there before my big mouth complicated things any further. This week, Ruan started officially. We've got flowers in the lobby every day now, and a dripping faucet I've been waiting 6 weeks to have fixed is scheduled for repair on Thursday. He didn't work there, but now he does. May the narrator just say, on behalf of most of us, I think I would die for Ruan. He seems like an absolute gem. So happy that it worked out for him. Even though I can't really comprehend doing all that extra work all the time for a boss that doesn't care and keeping up that great of an attitude. And that old manager was about as complacent and lazy as most property managers in the world. Looking at you, all landlords I've ever had. Let's hope Ruan never morphs into that. Although, the fact that he's seemingly effortlessly fixing things that have been a problem for months is a pretty good sign. Maybe one day Ruan will end up running the entire company. One can only hope. What a rags to riches story that would be. I do wonder what happened to the old guy. Hopefully he learned not to take stuff like that for granted. Stay strong, Ruan, and don't lose your special sparkle that made you so well liked by the tenants in the first place. Submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel, linked in the description below. And if you want to listen to some very good music in the background while you're chilling, check out easymode.com, also linked below, and subscribe. Oh, a bank wants to play stupid games? Then let's play stupid games. So I live in South Korea, but I work for a US company in South Korea. And because I work for an American company and I'm one of the few employees of my company that is American in South Korea, my company doesn't issue me with this letter that basically says I'm employed in South Korea. So this means I have restrictions on my Korean bank account. I can only withdraw 250,000 won, about $216 a day, from an ATM, and if I go in person to tell a teller, I can only withdraw 1 million won, about $870 a day. This normally doesn't present a problem for me. I also can't have a debit or credit card. I get a bank book, which is kind of like an electronic checkbook that's a physical thing you carry. FYI, I use my American bank for most of my day-to-day spending. But it did present a problem once. I signed a lease for a new apartment and the deposit was 10 million won, about $8,700. Yes, this is normal for Korea. So I transferred the money from my American bank to my Korean bank and I went into the bank in person to transfer the money to my landlord. I get there and the teller tells me I can only transfer 1 million per day. The first idea was to ask my landlord if she'd be cool with me transferring her 1 million won a day for 10 days. But she doesn't like that idea. So I'm sitting there arguing and the bank manager comes out. He's a nice enough man and speaks good English. Basically, he says because of my type of account, there's no way I can transfer more than 1 million a day. So I need this money and I'm thinking and the light bulb goes off in my head. If I close my account, do I get my money? The boss says, yes, we would give you the cash. And if I close my account, can I open a new one? Of course. Is there a waiting period after closing my account to open a new one? No. Fantastic. Please close my account. Sure. I'll need your bank book and we'll destroy it. I hand them my bank book and they destroy it. I sign some papers to close the account. The bank manager closes the account and gives me all the money in the account in an envelope. Anything else I can help you with today? I smile and pull out my passport. Yes, I'd like to open a new bank account. The bank manager looks at me and it dawns on him what I just did. He laughs, shakes his head, and goes, sure, not a problem. I opened a new account, deposited 10,000 won, and left with my deposit in my pocket. I believe this qualifies for malicious compliance because I followed the bank's rules and it resulted in them having to do more work. I don't know, I think the way the manager reacted sounds like he was completely on board. He knew that the system was dumb and inflexible here. I imagine that a lot of the sign-up process was automated anyway, and that this wouldn't have been too tough on them. Still, good on the author for thinking on their feet. The idea might not occur to some of us until we were outside the bank. One wonders whether the author of this story was motivated to get his company to register him properly so that he could eventually get a full bank account with all the privileges associated. It does seem kind of like they're the villains in this story the more I think about it. The bank really did seemingly help you around the issue with a smile on their face. Am I the jerk for telling my wife the lock on my daughter's door does not get removed till my brother-in-law and his daughters are out of our house? My brother-in-law, Sammy, lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters, Olivia and Sloane, 18, a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, 16, and she and her cousins aren't close but get along fine. Olivia and Sloane have no respect for Zoe's privacy. None. They used to walk into her room and take everything they got their hands on: makeup, phone accessories, clothes, school laptop, among other things. Zoe complained a lot and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls and this is typical teenage girl behavior, right? I completely disagreed. The last straw was when Zoe brought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set that she saved up for over a month, and one of the girls, Sloane, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing the shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife and she said she'd ask Sloane to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found she was moving valuable belongings out of the house because of this incident. Sammy and his daughters saw the lock and weren't happy. and the girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it and I straight up told him. He said, "My daughters aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff." He said Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she was. He accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him this is between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters. Then demanded I remove it, but I said this lock doesn't get removed until her brother and his daughters are out of the house. She got mad I was implying we kick them out and said her family will hate her so much for this. So I reminded her that I let Sammy and his family move in, which is something her own family refused to do, so she should start with shaming and blaming them for not taking their own son and niece's granddaughters in. If it wasn't for her family's unwillingness to help, we wouldn't be dealing with this much disturbance at home. Everyone's been giving me and Zoe silent treatment and my wife is very much upset over this. You know, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but my wife has been acting like a hypocrite lately, especially regarding privacy issues. She considers privacy something very important, but still thought that Zoe didn't have the right to get a lock, even if we leave her cousins out of this matter. My wife is not agreeing with the whole concept of getting a lock for Zoe. I explained to her what's been happening, even told her that Zoe has been moving some of her valuable belongings into a friend's house to keep them safe. Do I blame her? Absolutely not, but my wife still thought Zoe was wrong to do that. Now her cousins are upset and they and Sammy are using the silent treatment, among other things like eating without us or not sitting with us, as a guilt tactic. Even though it's not affecting me, it's making Zoe feel like she did something wrong by having a lock for her room. Well, that is rough, but also you seem to be the only one sticking up for your daughter's privacy and property that you've implied she brought with her own savings. Also, the logical disconnect on Sammy's part for simultaneously saying that the author was overprotective of his daughter and that they should simultaneously choose to restrict what makeup she should wear is pretty ridiculous. Maybe there's a reason that his ex and family didn't want him around. Kinda seems like they might all be nestling into the author's house like burrowed ticks and just furthering the hostile environment rather than working towards some kind of solution or, you know, finding another place to live rather than resenting the pretty reasonable rules of the people who took him and his daughters in. Hold fast, author, you're definitely not the jerk, and hopefully your wife can see past her family blinders to realize that eventually. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below, and if you want to listen to some very good music, check out easymode.com, also linked below, and subscribe. Am I the jerk for kicking out my sister-in-law after she threw away most of my single-use baby products and even formula? I'm 19, female, and I have a 3-week-old baby girl. I do still live with my parents, but since I pay rent equally, they say I can have just as much of a say in who comes and goes from the house as they do. I've never actually taken advantage of this rule until recently enough. I have a brother who's 26 and his wife is 24. They're crunchy parents to an 8-month-old. Basically, what that is fricking stupid. They use reusable wipes and nappies, think formula is the epitome of evil, baby wearing, the list goes on. I'm the complete opposite. Pacifiers, supplementing with formula due to low supply, disposable wipes and nappies. They're completely against the products I use and often give me things like my sister-in-law's milk in bags, reusable nappies that their little one has grown out of, among other things. I've used some, but it's not really my cup of tea. On Monday night, my brother and my sister-in-law were minding my baby for me since it was my birthday and my baby's father, not together but very close friends and co-parents, took me to get some dinner in one of my favorite fast food places. It was great and really relaxing. When I got home that evening, my sister-in-law said that she did some cleaning and threw out anything I don't need. This immediately gave me red flags, but they were in a hurry to get out of the door and left almost immediately. When I went into the nursery, every disposable nappy and wipe pack was gone and replaced with some reusable cloth ones. Same with my formula. There were 8 tubs and all of it was gone. I'm not able to replace them at the moment, and natural feeding my baby isn't going to be sustainable for me. I was extremely angry and I just turned my phone off to avoid being mean to my sister-in-law. She and my brother came over yesterday to collect something they forgot, and that was when I confronted her. I told her she has to replace everything she dumped. When she said she can't afford to, I said fine. Just get out and don't come back until I've been reimbursed or everything is replaced with the original items. My brother thinks I'm being a massive jerk and he's on his wife's side. Our parents think I'm being completely reasonable here, but they think telling her essentially not to come back is taking it a bit too far. Am I the jerk? The narrator does not think you're being a jerk. Even if you don't agree with someone's lifestyle, trashing all their belongings, especially stuff as vital and expensive as formula, is completely over the line. They had clearly been gunning to get you over to their lifestyle for a long time, and this slash-and-burn tactic was likely a ploy to get you to rely on their reused and weird gift bags to take up the lifestyle they'd been preaching for so long. And the fact that they left the house in a massive hurry kinda tells you that they knew you wouldn't be okay with what they'd done, and took it upon themselves to throw away all the stuff you had to raise your child with anyway. You can't always rely on your sister's extra helpful baggies to be delivered all the time. In fact, that part was one of the weirder bits of the story. I do get why your parents are a bit on the fence. They're probably still generally fine with their kids, weird pseudoscience aside, and would love to see their grandkids more often. It's honestly very high praise of them that they've respected your say in not allowing these people in the house that you help pay the bills for. We deal with a lot of cases of monstrous parents in this job, and I know there's a lot that would really kick up a fuss about this. Well done for keeping a balance. My entitled mother got upset with me for not giving her enough attention at my husband's funeral. She ended up calling the police on me. My husband passed away unexpectedly last month. It's honestly the worst thing I've ever had to go through. I'm now a single mum to children aged between 2 and 20. 2 days after my husband passed, she came by but brought her 3 dogs with her, knowing that one of her dogs isn't friendly with children and knowing that I also have animals. We had my husband's memorial at a local park where we'd been married. I struggled to hold it together, and besides brief hellos, I only spoke to those helping set up, and then I gave my speech. I approached my entitled mother when I saw that she had arrived and said hi, and let her know my brother, who's no contact with her, was there as well. Later, I noticed that she was gone without even saying goodbye. A few days later, my 20-year-old, he's my stepson, who the entitled mother has never paid attention to before, gets a message from her asking him to come and stay the week to paint her house. I spoke to Mr. 20 and my other children's therapist, who all agree it's too soon after losing their father for their brother who lives with us to be gone for a week. A few of my younger children are on the spectrum. Later that night, I called my mother to chat about it, and she says, "It's been 3 weeks, you need to get over it." With that, I saw red. I let loose and tell her I'll never be over it. I then threw at her that I noticed that she couldn't be bothered saying goodbye at the memorial, to which she then had a go at me for having my brother there, as it made her uncomfortable. I reminded her that that day wasn't about her. I let loose on a lot on that phone call. In the end, I hung up the phone. The next morning, I got a call from the police saying that my mother had called them and told them that I was trying to end my life. I was lucky as I'd spoken to the same officer only 2 days prior, and she had told me she got the impression that I'd reach out for help if needed, which is why she chose to call instead of a home visit, which given my past history, which mother knows about, they would have taken me to hospital as a precaution. I've now gone no contact with my mother. I fully believe knowing her that she only invited my son over as she knows he has been one of my biggest supports, as retaliation for not giving her enough attention at the memorial. After I went no contact, I found out that she had told my other stepson that she only came because it would have looked bad on her if she didn't. Others also told me she kept yelling at my brother and complaining that I wasn't leaning on her for support. I'm so glad I've gone no contact. Does that make me a jerk? Nope. In fact, I'm amazed you've kept up contact as long as you have. I kinda saw red for a few seconds and had to stop recording when I saw that you were expected to have sufficiently gotten over the death of your partner in less than a month. Good lord. And yet Her Majesty is apparently allowed to hold on to the immense trauma of not being allowed to be the center of attention at the funeral of your husband 3 weeks later. Big wonder your brother isn't in contact with her, and now she can chalk it up to 2 children that justifiably want nothing to do with her. I suppose, in her defense, she tried everything to fix the gap by calling the bloody popo on you and bringing more drama into this already rough period in your life. Is this narcissism? It feels like wildly untreated, intense, textbook narcissism that has been allowed to entrench for far too long. I very much hope that you and your family can recover away from this woman's contact and that maybe she'll begin to reflect on her behavior. as unlikely as that seems. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.